Welcome, fellow castigators. So the handling of Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi has been kind of a hot topic, a point of contention, which I find amazing considering it came out in 2017. I guess people never truly get tired of dragging Last Jedi through the mud. But don't get me wrong, that's not what I'm here to do. There are actually a few things I like about The Last Jedi, such as the production design, Adam Driver's acting, or the Force Ghost Yoda scene, which I think is the best scene in the whole trilogy. See, regarding the portrayal of Luke, there are generally two schools of thought. Then there's my take, which I haven't seen anyone bring up yet so far. Before we get into those opinions, let's do a quick overview of Luke's journey. Feel free to skip through if you know it by heart. First we meet Luke. He's a whiny farm boy with no particular heroic qualities. After seeing his aunt and uncle burned to a crisp, he decides to become a Jedi. Through some beginner's training with Ben Kenobi and some tough situations involving an abducted princess, he goes on to blow up the Death Star. He's not quite ready to wield a lightsaber with any grace, but he's finally showing some potential. In The Empire Strikes Back, after narrowly surviving more danger, Luke receives training from Yoda. He's still a little on the whiny side and needs to learn patience, as well as the ways of the Force. He cuts off his training early to save his friends and has an epic battle with Vader, showing how far he's come. After some traumatizing news and another near-death experience, Luke escapes on the Falcon. Next we meet Luke in Return of the Jedi. He's a full-blown Jedi Knight. He's calm, cool, collected, and a total badass. Things don't always go according to plan, but it's how he gets out of a tough spot that makes him so fun to watch. Most importantly, he hasn't lost his sense of hope. Even though he's wiser, Luke is still the guy we met back in A New Hope. He's gone through extensive character development without losing what we like about him. In fact, Luke is such a hopeful and heroic figure that he refuses to kill the most evil man in the galaxy just because he still senses good in him. As adults, we tend to identify more with the skeptical Han Solo, but as kids, Luke was inspiring because it gave us hope that maybe one day we whiny kids could grow up to be heroes who know how to do the right thing. Luke was a role model that showed us an act of kindness could win a war. Well, that and a bunch of little furry creatures turning off a shield generator. 30 years later, Luke is throwing his lightsaber off a cliff at the end of Force Awakens. The scene picks back up in The Last Jedi, where we see that Luke has become disgruntled and bitter. Apparently, Luke was training his nephew Ben Solo and sensed some darkness in him. Luke then decides to creepily stand over him one night, igniting his lightsaber and trying to decide if he should murder Ben. He whizzes out at the last second, but it's too late. Ben freaks out at seeing his uncle standing over his bed with a hungry look in his eyes and escapes, eventually becoming the villainous Kylo Ren. After telling Rey all this, Luke tells her to get bent. She fights dirty to defeat him, and he's impressed for some reason, so after a tiny bit of training, Luke reunites with Leia. Luke then uses a force projection to scare his nephew one last time, and manages to die from the effort required. He appears a final time as a ghost in Rise of Skywalker to contradict and make up for some of the stuff he said in Last Jedi. He might have had more involvement than that, but Rise of Skywalker is the only Star Wars movie I haven't seen more than once, so my memory of it isn't very strong. Now that we've done that refresher, let's look at the two most prominent sides of the argument regarding Old Man Luke. The first argument, and the loudest, states that the portrayal was unfaithful to Luke's personality in the original trilogy. They say it's ridiculous that the man who gave Darth Vader a free pass would never consider killing his conflicted nephew, let alone get as close as holding a lightsaber over him. They also say that it doesn't make sense for Luke to be bitter about something that was his fault, and abandoning his friends by hiding out during a big war makes him look like a heartless nerf herder. He's also uncharacteristically rude to Rey and barely interacts with his old friend Chewbacca. The second argument suggests that Luke's behavior is realistic. After all, he's seen a lot of action, and perhaps mentally this was the last straw. Maybe he thought he was a danger to others. In the real world, people just disappoint you, especially men. They also say that grumpy Luke is necessary for Rey's development and for plot movement. Now, in a way, both of these arguments are right. Here's my take, that a good writer would be able to make both scenarios believable. If they wanted to go with option 1, Luke could have been on a secret mission that ties into the plot. With option 2, they could have shown that Luke is a broken man without sacrificing too much of his personality. Perhaps because Rey has only used a lightsaber once, she needs someone like Luke so that she doesn't hurt herself instead of some vague notion that he's somehow what they need to win the war. Here's what it comes down to. I posit that this is a matter of writer responsibility. When writing anything, but especially legacy characters, you have a responsibility to be respectful of the lore and to carry out your duty with humility. Not everyone is lucky enough to get to write Star Wars, and this is not the time to air your petty grievances with the world that hurt you. If you have the option to believably deliver the version of Luke Skywalker that everyone loves, then why do anything else? My opinion is that no real Star Wars fan would ever choose to make Luke Skywalker a pathetic, washed-up bully spending a boring existence fishing with a big pole on an island with a bunch of frog nuns that don't even speak his language. I believe that Rian Johnson handled Star Wars irresponsibly and focused too much on subverting expectations and not enough on making a coherent story. I know this opinion seems like a simplistic answer, but the fact is that a poor script is most often the culprit of a character assassination. If you don't think they're to blame, just think of current Star Trek producer Alex Kurtzman saying Star Trek didn't speak to him, but Star Wars did. Or Andor showrunner Tony Gilroy saying he isn't a fan of Star Wars. These people have no reverence for the things that we love, and I greatly suggest refusing to give them your money. I'm curious to see what your thoughts on Luke Skywalker are, and whether you think I'm a crackpot or not. Feel free to comment below, and if you enjoyed the video, subscribe and gleefully await more chaos.